The Old Testament reading comes from 1 Samuel chapter 16. The Lord said to Samuel, "How long will you grieve over Saul? I have rejected him from being king over Israel. Fill your horn with oil and set out. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided for myself a king among his sons." Samuel said, "How can I go? If Saul hears of it, he will kill me." And the Lord said, "Take a heifer with you and say, 'I have come to sacrifice to the Lord.' Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you what you shall do, and you shall anoint for me the one whom I name to you." Samuel did what the Lord commanded and came to Bethlehem. The elders of the city came to meet him, trembling, and said, "Do you come peaceably?" He said, "Peaceably. I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Sanctify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." And he sanctified Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they came, he looked on Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed is now before the Lord." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look on his appearance or on the height of his stature, because I have rejected him. For the Lord does not see as mortals see. They look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." Then Jesse called Abinadab and made him pass before Samuel. He said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Then Jesse made Shammah pass by, and he said, "Neither has the Lord chosen this one." Jesse made 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, and Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." Samuel said to Jesse, "Are all your sons here?" And he said, "There remains yet the youngest, but he is keeping the sheep." And Samuel said to Jesse, "Send and bring him, for we will not sit down until he comes here." He sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. The Lord said, "Rise and anoint him, for this is the one." Then Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon David from that day forward. Samuel then set out and went to Ramah.
Today is from John 9, 1 through 7. As he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world." When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, "Go, wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. This is the word of the Lord. Well, as we heard in our Old Testament lesson today, we deal with Saul and with Samuel and with David. Saul was the first king of Israel, and the prophet Samuel had anointed him according to God's instruction. But things had happened, time had passed, and now God rejected Saul and withdrew from Saul and gave Samuel new instruction. "Go and anoint the one I will show you to be the new king over Israel." So Samuel went to Bethlehem, and the people were scared because King Saul might have harmed them if there was something going on that they didn't know about, and if Samuel was involved in it. You see, Samuel was a very powerful figure. Well, they came for the sacrifice and the anointing, and Jesse brought his sons according to Samuel's instruction. And so one son passed by, and he looked awfully good, and surely this must be the one. But no. 7 sons passed by, and not one of them was the one that God had chosen to be the new king over Israel. So Samuel asked Jesse, "Do you have another son?" And Jesse says, "Yes, my youngest, David. He's tending the sheep." "Well, go get him." And so he does. And then the Lord tells Samuel, "Rise up and anoint this one. He is the new king." And he does. Well, Samuel, like all of us, was tending to look at the outward appearance. These sons were tall and handsome and smart, and probably most of them would have looked like somebody God would choose. But God says to Samuel, humans tend to look on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks in the heart. And so the Lord looked in David's heart and found there a beautiful, beautiful person, and a person who had the characteristics that the Lord was looking for the person to be the next king, to lead Israel in that juncture of their history. The Lord looks into the heart, but we tend to look at the outward appearance. But then the author tells us, well, David was handsome. He was rugged. He had beautiful eyes. And I tend to think that that might be a poetic way of describing what the Lord saw by looking within. And then, of course, according to his characteristics, God called him to his vocation of kingship, although it was still at this point a secret because Saul would have killed them all. There's something about being in power that makes you protect it at all cost. Well, like David, God looks into our hearts and not merely on our outward appearance. And God does not just look to find those things that are not too pleasant. God looks to find our inner beautiful self and our genuine characteristics that God can use. And so when God calls us into service in God's community for the world, God is drawing on those genuine characteristics that we have that we can use in God's service. But sometimes there's a little clutter that kind of blocks that beauty from being seen. You know, in this time of Lent, I've been emphasizing our need to make a special effort to spend some prayerful time in self-reflection, taking a good look at ourselves. And so often, and I've done this a little bit myself, focused on the less than positive things that maybe we need to take a look at. But that's not the whole story. We all, in our time of self-reflection, need to try to clear away that clutter that piles up and maybe take a glimpse at that beautiful self within and those genuine characteristics that we have been given. For we are God's children, and we were made in the image of God. And there is beauty in all of us. And so, yes, we do focus on the clutter and try to get rid of it, but let us not forget that there is that beauty, like the beauty was in David. It kind of reminded me of this wonderful little movie. It's kind of growing old now, Cold Comfort Farm. There was a family, they owned a farm called Cold Comfort. And they were not a very healthy family. They were all enmeshed and they couldn't get out of their ways, and they were dominated by this kind of loony matriarch. And There was this one cousin, this young woman, and her mother was there also. But this poor cousin, this young woman, she was always filthy as filthy could be. Dirt all over her, hair matted, filthy, dirty old rags for clothes. I mean to tell you, whew. And there was a young man. He was going to be inheriting the farm. And he was lonely and he needed a spouse. Someone mentioned her and cousin so-and-so, oh, forget that. I didn't take her seriously. Well, there came a time when there was going to be this very special wedding. And so we see this surprising scene. The mother has the daughter in a big old tin bathtub, scrubbing that mud off of her, washing that hair, and then dressing her in a nice dress with a nice little hat so she can go to the wedding. And it shocks everybody. Who's that? You know, it wasn't like she was a movie star, had movie star looks or anything. She was just a regular, attractive person. But it was startling. All of that clutter had been moved away, and there was this beautiful person. And of course, the young man immediately does a double take and notices her. And sort of the implication is, well, I have found my partner. And so God does that with us. God clears away that clutter, gives us a bath and scrubs all that sinful mud away, and here we are. We're beautiful. And I think it's okay for all of us to claim that. If you have a hard time seeing it, well, ask God to help you take a look. And, of course, then, if you can see it a little bit in yourself, you can see it in others better. Look for it in others as well. Well, God looks at our characteristics that go along with our beauty, our genuineness, and God calls us into service. And that made me think about God calling people into ordained ministry, for example. And it made me think about all the different models of ministry that come along over time. Now, I'll tell you, in the first half, the entire first half of the 20th century, coming out of the late 19th century, their main models of ministry, and they're in books that you can read, were all about a chaplain-like model of ministry. God called people with certain characteristics, and these models of ministry said, now every day you're supposed to go visit person after person after person. These models were designed to enable clergy to visit literally hundreds and hundreds and sometimes over 1,000 people in a year. Now that's one heck of a model of ministry, isn't it? I think if you get 15 minutes a person, then you've done your job. Well, you know, that was the time when modern chaplaincy was being developed, and then people had brought the chaplaincy into the church's pastoral ministry. But then World War II happened, and there was a change. Women were in the workforce much more, and then the church started declining in the 60s and into the 70s, and then the books started being written saying, well, we've got this great church in this wonderful neighborhood, but we don't visit anymore because nobody's home. So they had to find something else to do. And then God called people with skills in helping the church to turn around from its decline. And so those people started writing books around in the 90s. And some of them said, boy, it took me 10 years to turn this church around. And then they would build models showing you how to do it. We've got libraries full of those books now. And so they said, you got to get rid of the chaplain model of ministry. And that led to an emphasis on lay care. So now all the rage is lay care. Of course, churches have been doing lay care. All the people in the church have been caring all along. It's just these official models that don't take that into account very much. It's much more informal than formal. And so, God looks for people with certain kinds of characteristics. What kind of minister do we need to help turn a church around? And that minister needs freedom and time to attend to that important issue. And now I believe that God is calling us anew, not just ministers, but all of us with our genuine characteristics and beauty. We are being called, well, first of all, God is looking, I believe, not at just individuals, but God is looking into the heart of congregations and clearing away the clutter and looking for that beauty of congregations and those characteristics of congregations. And God is calling us now to come together with other congregations and to collaborate in our ministry together. That is how I think God is calling us into the future. We've been very, very individual, all of us. And now God is calling us anew to collaborate. And to do that, we have to see our beauty. We have to see our characteristics, what we can contribute, and who can contribute to us. We're seeing this in a small way now as Dewey Avenue ends its own life as a congregation and comes and joins us. And we will be a blessing to each other. Last Monday night, the neighborhood action team met. And I'll tell you what, it was inspiring. Bob Monagle was there also, and lay people and pastors from the 9 churches were there. And we were led by our consultant to have our initial conversations. It was relationship building primarily, and it was very inspiring. Everybody was excited. And I believe that within the coming year, at some point, we will actually see our first mission work together with others. I don't know whether it will be with all 9 churches as a whole in some huge project. It may be 2 or 3 banding together to do what we have common interest in doing. It may be a combination of things. But I believe that God is looking at our whole presbytery's heart and seeing its beauty and calling us to work together. So we've got to look at our characteristics as a church and see how we can contribute to this ministry to which God is calling us. And so we are to be following in the footsteps of Jesus together. It's just like when Jesus and his disciples encounter this blind man. What do the disciples see? It's just like us. We're out in the community, and what do we see? When we see suffering people, or people we don't think are somehow like they should be, do we see what the disciples saw? They use the tradition. Well, Jesus, who sinned? This man or his parents? See, they looked on the outward appearance, and they only saw the clutter. They didn't see the inner beauty that God sees. And Jesus, though, said, no, you missed the point. For Jesus looks into the heart and sees that wonderful beauty, that beautiful self of that human being, that child of God, made in God's image. And saw that man's characteristics. And so Jesus was moved to see the power of God at work in that person's life and to bring him healing so that he could see. And I think as we move into the future as a congregation, and God continues looking clearing away the clutter and seeing the beautiful self of our church and other churches, that we too will be following in the footsteps of Jesus in new ways that we haven't quite gotten to yet. God hasn't been ready to show us exactly the concreteness of that ministry yet, but will. And it's all in process. And I think it's very exciting. So let us just remember, as individuals, as children of God, as family members and as colleagues and as people in the community, look for that beautiful inner self. Look for those genuine characteristics and celebrate them. And in ourselves and in every person we come into contact with. And in that way, let us be healing people and not people who blame or try to find reasons for such negativity as blindness. Let us follow the ways of God